What's up, everyone? Initially, I had no idea what I wanted to do this video on until I got a nice little suggestion from a friend to do a video on what my favorite movie of all time is. Well, it's actually a little hard, admittedly, because with so many different genres of movies out there and so many different movies in general, how could I really just pick one? So I'm not gonna take a little while to kind of make that list. So I'm gonna just run down, I guess, 3 series of movies that to this day I can just watch and put on no matter how old they are, how long they are, and just enjoy them like it was the first time I'm watching it. So, offhand, first we're going to go with the Godfather series. Now, arguably, this is possibly the greatest series of all time. Godfather Part 1's my favorite. I know a lot of people love Part 2 as opposed to Part 1. To me, I think Part 1 is the definitive move, not definitive, but the best one in the series since the first one, because the vibe it gives off has that 1940s mafia vibe of like New York, where in Part 2 they're in Cuba for the most part, and I think Las Vegas. Don't get me wrong, Part 2 is a great movie, but to me I think Part 1's better. Part 3, on the other hand, no one's favorite movie is Part 3. If you guys know anyone who loves Godfather Part 3, leave their name in the comments below. I might need to have a chat with them just to figure out why. Don't get me wrong, Part 3 is not a bad movie, but comparatively to Part 1 and 2, it's not the same. It doesn't really hold up. The movie was made, 15 years later, so naturally it's gonna have a different feel because time changes. But, Godfather Part 1, fantastic. Godfather Part 2, amazing also. Part 3's alright. I didn't see those movies until I was a junior in high school. So, admittedly, that's maybe 30 years after they came out. But I was still very entertained by them. If you guys have never seen The Godfather, any of the movies, I would definitely say start with Part 1. And make sure you have time. They're about like 3 hours each. You can't really just sit, pause the movie, go do whatever, come back to it. The story is very packed and driven, so you would just have to at least watch one movie in full one day. And it's fantastic, man. You won't regret it. Number 2, the series that I love, Harry Potter. Everyone knows that, if you know me. The Harry Potter movies are just fantastic movies. Granted, Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, the first 2 movies, were my all-time favorite in the series, just because it feels to me like they were more like the books. I like the direction the director went with, and then after that they switched directors every movie. So a little bit of the continuity to me within the series kept switching around. And but the movies themselves were never terrible. It's cool because the cast of characters were always the same, just like the books. So you basically got to see these kids growing up doing these movies, and it felt kind of real to an extent. Granted, it's fantasy, it's wizardry, witchcraft, but just seeing the progression, it was like a yearly thing, which was really cool. To this day, I could sit and watch Harry Potter, have a Harry Potter marathon all day, and not feel like I wasted my day. There's not a lot of things that I can do that I don't feel like I'm wasting my day if I'm spending X amount of time with them. And watching Harry Potter is one of them. All the movies, for the most part, have been fantastic. Granted, they change over time, like I said, but they've always been good movies. They came out when I was a kid, so there's a little bit of the nostalgia factor there going back and watching them, and the music's great, the world's great, the story's great. Just overall, the acting's great. I know some people are really big Harry Potter haters. Stop it. It's fantastic. And then the last series I want to talk to is the Batman series. And if you know me, you know I'm a huge fan of Batman. But I'm not going to talk about the Christopher Nolan films. My favorite Batman series is the Tim Burton films of the 80s and early 90s. Now, don't get me wrong, again, the Nolan films are great. They're cool. But there's just something about those Tim Burton films that kind of resonate with me a little more. Maybe it's because I saw them again when I was little, so there's that nostalgia factor to them. Or just the world Tim Burton creates, where the newer Batman movies were very much action-oriented. These movies had just that weird dark twistedness to them. Let's talk about Batman '89, where you had Michael Keaton, the guy who played Beetlejuice. as Batman, and he just kind of proved to everyone that he did a fantastic job. He was phenomenal. And then you had Jack Nicholson as the Joker, who's arguably my favorite Joker, just because he was crazy to the wacky sense, not crazy to the violent sense that Heath Ledger was. And then you look at Batman Returns, that came out, I think, 1992, 1993. You had Danny DeVito as the Penguin. You had Christopher Walken in the movie, and it just added more to that Tim Burton sense of interestingness. And I did like Batman Forever with Jim Carrey as a Joker. A lot of people, for whatever reason, don't like that movie. I thought it was great. I mean, I didn't like that Val Kilmer became Batman and took over Michael Keaton's spot, but the movie itself wasn't a bad movie. And then after that, Batman and Robin, can't do it. To this day, if I see that, that's the one movie I'm not watching if it's on. But yeah, guys, I couldn't just choose one movie. Actually, all in all, I probably just chose about 12 individually. And those are my favorite movies, guys. Like, I could throw those on today. Maybe I'll throw them on when I'm done watching this video. And I can just sit and watch until I have to go do something. And if I have nothing to do, they're just going to stay on. So, thanks for checking out this video. Comment your favorite movies, whatever they may be, what you thought of mine. And as always, thank you for watching. Talk to you guys next time.